The steady flow of corn, moving from the heartland of America to the kitchens and markets of Mexico, shaped not only economic fortunes, but also the daily lives of countless families. This relationship, built on geographic proximity, and strengthened by trade agreements like NAFTA, seemed unbreakable, a symbol of cooperation and mutual benefit in North America. But now, U.S. dominance is under threat, not from distant competitors overseas, but from its northern neighbor, Canada, which has rapidly expanded its own corn production and export capacity. In a dramatic shift, Mexico has signed a $5.7 billion deal to import corn from Canada, upending long-held trade patterns and signaling a new era in continental agriculture. This move signals not just economic change, but a deeper assertion of food sovereignty and national identity, as Mexico seeks to diversify its sources and reduce reliance on a single partner. Years of political friction, shifting trade policies, and protectionist measures have eroded trust between the U.S. and Mexico, prompting Mexican leaders to look north for greater stability and security in their food supply. Corn is central to Mexican culture and cuisine, making this shift as much about heritage and pride as it is about economics and trade statistics. The result is a redrawn agricultural map, with new trade routes and alliances forming, and a wake-up call for American farmers and policymakers who must now adapt to a rapidly changing landscape. The golden river of U.S. corn has been diverted, and the consequences, economic, cultural, and political, are rippling across the continent, reshaping the future of North American agriculture. The roots of this trade upheaval trace back to the Trump-era tariffs, a policy shift that sent shockwaves through the agricultural sector. These tariffs, initially aimed at protecting American industries, quickly triggered a global response. Countries that once depended on the U.S. for stable grain supplies suddenly found themselves caught in a web of uncertainty, unsure of what new restrictions or costs might come next. This sparked a cycle of retaliation and uncertainty, leaving American farmers and their international buyers on edge. For many, the future of cross-border trade seemed to hang in the balance, with livelihoods and long-standing relationships at risk. Even though corn wasn't always directly targeted by tariffs, the overall climate of unpredictability made Mexico wary of relying solely on the U.S. for such a critical staple. The fear was not just about price hikes, but about the possibility of sudden policy changes disrupting supply chains overnight. The renegotiation of NAFTA into the USMCA, while intended to modernize trade, only deepened concerns for Mexican buyers. The new agreement brought fresh rules and more complex regulations, prompting them to look beyond their northern neighbor for more dependable partners. Trust, once the bedrock of the trade relationship, was fractured. The sense of security that had defined decades of agricultural exchange was replaced by doubt and hesitation. Mexico's search for new suppliers was a calculated response to political risk, not a knee-jerk reaction. Leaders and importers weighed their options carefully, determined to shield their food system from future shocks. Canada, with its stable politics, transparent trade policies, and growing output, emerged as the logical alternative. Its reputation for reliability made it an attractive partner for Mexico's grain buyers. The tariffs meant to protect U.S. interests ironically opened the door for Canada to step in and fill the gap. As American exports slowed, Canadian grain began flowing south, strengthening new ties. Now, Canada is positioned as Mexico's reliable North American partner, forging a relationship built on predictability and mutual benefit. The lesson is clear: trade relationships depend as much on trust and stability as on price. When policy decisions shake that foundation, the effects ripple far beyond borders, reshaping the future of global agriculture. For American corn farmers, the landscape has shifted almost overnight. What once felt like a stable, reliable market has suddenly become uncertain and fraught with anxiety. Mexico's pivot to Canada is a direct hit, sending shockwaves through rural communities that depend on corn exports for their livelihoods. Mexico was the top market for U.S. corn, with $4.8 billion in exports in 2024 alone. This partnership was built over decades, fueling not just economies but also trust between neighbors. Losing this market means surplus corn at home, driving prices down and squeezing already thin margins. Storage facilities fill up, and farmers are left wondering where their next paycheck will come from. The financial strain threatens the survival of many family farms across the Corn Belt. For some, it's not just about profit, it's about keeping a generations-old way of life alive. Agricultural groups, once celebrating trade victories, now face a crisis rooted in lost trust, not lost quality. The sense of partnership that once defined North American agriculture is now in jeopardy. Calls for diplomatic repair and a new farm bill are growing louder. Farmers and advocates are urging lawmakers to act quickly, hoping to restore stability before more damage is done. Farmers feel betrayed, years of investment and innovation undermined by political fallout. Many are left questioning the future of their farms and their families. The pain is immediate, but the sense of injustice runs deeper. There's a growing realization that the rules of global trade can change in an instant, leaving hardworking people to pick up the pieces. The U.S. agricultural sector is learning that global trade is as vulnerable to politics as it is to economics. Trust, once lost, is hard to rebuild, and the consequences ripple far beyond the fields. The future of American corn now hangs in the balance, as farmers, policymakers, and communities wait anxiously for answers and hope for a path forward. As U.S. farmers struggle, Canadian producers are seizing the moment. Canada, long overshadowed in the corn market, has moved quickly to present itself as a stable, sustainable supplier. Its environmental credentials and efficient logistics make Canadian corn attractive to Mexico. As a USMCA member, Canada enjoys tariff-free access and robust infrastructure for bulk exports. Canadian grain companies are expanding capacity to meet Mexico's needs, proving their reliability. The $5.7 billion deal is a windfall for Canadian agriculture, encouraging further growth and diversification. For Canada, this is more than a transaction, it's a strategic leap onto the global stage. The North American agricultural landscape is being reshaped, with Canada now a major player. To understand Mexico's shift, look beyond economics. Corn is the soul of the nation. Protecting native maize varieties from GMOs is a matter of cultural survival. Mexico allows biotech corn for feed, but insists on non-GMO white corn for tortillas and traditional foods. This dual policy balances trade obligations with cultural preservation. Canada's profile offers Mexico more flexibility in sourcing non-GMO corn. Diversifying suppliers gives Mexico leverage and control over its food system. The move is about food sovereignty, asserting the right to define its own agricultural standards. By partnering with Canada, Mexico signals it will protect its heritage, even if it means breaking with tradition. The North American corn realignment is a global signal even the strongest trade ties can unravel. Mexico's diversification may inspire other nations to reduce dependence on single suppliers. The USMCA dispute over biotech corn showed that legal victories can't override cultural priorities. The result, a more fragmented, complex global trading system with rising tensions over food sovereignty. U.S. exporters now face stiffer competition, not just from Canada, but from South America and beyond. Losing Mexico compounds these pressures, forcing U.S. agriculture to adapt or risk decline. For Mexico, diversifying suppliers means greater food security and resilience. While U.S. farmers feel the pain, Mexico's move could lead to a more stable food system. The paradox: efficiency in global trade can mean fragility, while diversification brings resilience. The world is watching and learning. With the old order upended, the U.S.-Mexico corn relationship faces an uncertain future. The U.S. must rebuild trust through stable policy and genuine diplomacy, not just better prices. American farmers need new strategies, from exploring other export markets to investing in bio-based industries. Technological innovation will help, but can't replace lost trust. Mexico will balance USMCA commitments with its cultural priorities, using its new partnership with Canada as leverage. The corn crisis is a lesson in the power of politics, culture, and trust in global trade. The golden river of corn has changed course, and restoring it will require more than a good harvest. In food trade, relationships matter as much as the product itself.